Start. Nepal has a new Prime Minister after the Supreme Court overrules Mr. Oli again, in what must be a deja vu moment for outgoing Prime Minister KP Oli and President Vidya Devi Bhandari. The Supreme Court of Nepal set aside their dissolution in May of the House of Representatives. Stop. The apex court had in February overruled Mr. Oli's decision to dissolve the House in December 2020 as well. Stop. But this time the ruling was more than just a rap on his knuckles. Stop. The judgment also paved the way for Sher Bahadur Devba of the Nepal Congress to be appointed as Prime Minister after recognizing his claim based on signatures of 149 lawmakers across different parties affirming their support. Stop. The five-member constitutional bench also provided the way out of the unending political deadlock in the House by allowing individual lawmakers to ignore their party whips during trust vote that is most win for Mr. Devba. Stop. The inability of Mr. Oli and Mr. Devba to win trust votes prior to the dissolution decision by Mrs. Bhandari was because the support for them in the 275 members House divided both the ruling Communist Party of Nepal and the opposition Janta Samajwadi Party as rebel lawmakers risked suspension. Stop. The court's decision earlier in the year to de-recognize the merged Nepal Communist Party was another factor too. Stop. Mr. Oli had minority support within the merged NCP, but his faction retained the endorsement of the bulk of the legislatures in the demerged UML. Stop. The rebels led by Madhav Nepal and Jhala Nath Khanal were limited to a smaller faction. The other component of the NCP, the Communist Party of Nepal, Maoist Center, meanwhile endorsed Mr. Deoba's candidacy while the JSP was split vertically with the Mahanatha Thakur, Rajendra Mahato led faction supporting Mr. Oli as opposed to the Baburam Bhattarai, Upendra Yadav led faction. Stop. It remains to be seen whether the lawmakers will now vote based on their individual agency with the fear of suspension gone. Stop. There is no guarantee that Mr. Devba will win a trust vote as he must secure the support of the rebel factions within the UML and the JSP. Stop. The the Madhav Nepal led faction, which has not endorsed Mr. Oli and welcomed the judgment, has also been a mercurial force undecided on joining hands with the opposition in this new situation. Stop. Nevertheless, this is the blow to Mr. Oli, whole brinkmanship and authoritarian tendencies have come at a difficult time for Nepalis reeling from the COVID 19 outbreak. Stop. It is also a stinging rebuke to Mrs. Bhandari, whose actions as president rubber stamping her former party colleagues. Mr. Oli's decisions have called into question her role as a constitutional functionary. Stop. Mr. Deuba has his task cut out, but a firm message of unity and consultative governance can bring about political stability, something that has long eluded Nepal during both its constitutional monarchy and its republican periods. Stop.